Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has actually dispelled rumors that government may consider a review of the electronic transactions levy. Now, experts have actually argued that for government to meet its revenue target, there would be a need for a further reduction in the levy from its current rate of 1.5%. Speaking on PM Express Business Edition, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta says the cancellation of the e-levy is a no-no.
At the beginning, went through the country, brought it down to 1.5. Now let's look at the assumptions first, and then we will then titrate if anything else have to be done.
0.5?
I don't know where that number emanated from, but everybody seems to have it on their lips.
Yeah.
No, I think the key issue is really the issue of merchant to merchant, paying through Ghana.gov, agent to agent, the banking systems, exemptions, etc. Once that is thoroughly examined and we can figure out exactly what we can get from that, then we can look at other things.
So, I mean, it's on the table. It's not a no-no to that.
Everything is always on the table, but really, I think what we have figured out now is that the exemptions regime must be thoroughly analyzed. I mean,
you spoke about an exemption, and an exemption bill was passed recently in Parliament. How do you see this, or looking forward to this as a real game changer in terms of, again, the revenue mobilization bit as well for the economy?
I think we're losing somewhere close to 2 odd billion cedis a year. So imagine quite a bit of that being saved to add to our revenue bucket. That would be important. You know, so it's a whole series of leakages that as a society we've been used to, and now just beginning to clamp down and say the resources of the Republic must be protected. And that's what we did. And we can see how that crept into the e-levy through the discussions, etc. So those also have to be eliminated, and I think we'll be able to get that.
But are you optimistic about the revenue situation end of year?
As to what we have done?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely, because we were very aggressive about recognizing compliance. So I think it was about maybe 16.45 billion cedis, and we cut it down by about 10 billion. So that's how aggressive we are with regards to just the reality of losing those 5 months of revenue. And exemptions bill was just recently passed, maybe a week or so ago. So we've been really delayed in the revenue measures, and then the issues that we've had with e-levy, which we've now recognized. So certainly, in terms of the revenue outlook, we are very confident about that. I mean, e-levy is now, we put in 611 million for it. You know, eliminate the exemptions, I think we'll be back to 600 million a month, and that will make.
Well, let's check out more from Isaac Kofi Ajay with our research desk. He will give us some perspective into the funding and the revenue measure and how it is faring on in terms of government's issues regarding raising funds in this critical moment. So let's bring in Isaac. We'll still go back to Charles Kwesi Addo shortly. But Isaac, first of all, give us a sense of how the e-levy has been faring so far.
Yes, so let's start with what we call active mobile money accounts. So we've been tracking this from November last year when the finance minister announced the tax measure. And you realize that there have been cyclical movements in terms of the total number of active accounts that we have in terms of mobile money. And if you look at it, it means that between April and May 2022, active mobile money has dropped. Mobile money accounts have dropped by 1.57% within the period under review. Another thing we also looked at is the total value of transactions. Or the total value of transactions we're talking about at the moment is around 77.4 billion cedis. Somewhere before November 2022, it started in the cyclical movement that we are talking about in the data. And so if you do the math for these indicators that I'm talking about, we've seen registered mobile money accounts appreciating between April and May 2022 by 0.59%, active mobile money account dropping by 1.57%, registered mobile money agents being, also dropping by, appreciating by 0.64%. But active agents at the moment, as we speak, is just the same thing. That's like we took between April and May this year. And the total number of transactions have dropped by 1.05% between April and May, whilst we have total value of transaction fairly appreciating by 8.4%.
How about the issue of the alternatives for government in terms of trying to expand and get more from this revenue measure? Is government helpless, or perhaps there's an avenue where it could improve this revenue measure?
Blessed, you know that government started, it proposed a rate of 1.75% in November, and then due to the public, outcry, it was reduced to 1.5%. In fact, the 6 billion or close to 6.9 billion cedis that we were expected to rake in by the end of the year was slashed to 4.5%. So it seems at the moment, a government is helpless because the e-levy was expected to be passed by February. They ended up dragging to May. We lost a lot of revenue. And so at the moment, government seems helpless when it comes to revenue, and then the e-levy at the moment. I'm not sure government will lower the rate, because at the moment, the 1.5% we are talking about can only bring in 4.5 billion cedis into government coffers till the end of the year, by the end of the year, actually.
So in the wake of the IMF decision, what role would this revenue measure play, really?
Important. It's good that government is going to the negotiation table with a tax measure already, because usually we see IMF programs proposing new tax measures. And so government went to the table with this tax handle already. So probably what the IMF team will be helping government to do is to help them with the collecting this revenue efficiently and raking in more in terms of being efficient in the amount that government is expecting, because the 4.5 billion we speak about right now is just a projection. In actual terms, it may be high, it may be less, or it may be more than the projection of 4.5 billion.
Isaac Ofieje, thank you. He's with our research desk. Charles Kwesiado is still with us. He speaks for the Mobile Money Agents Association. Charles, what's your reaction having seen these figures and the indication from the finance minister that the rate may not change? At least I recall that you were asking for some review to happen to this revenue measure.
Yeah, thank you, Kofi. Like I stated earlier, if you could recall, a month or two ago, I used this same medium to say that the government expectation will never be met because the education did not go down well with Ghanaians, and there are alternatives out there. And most people will want to succumb to those alternatives. So even with the 4.8 or so measure that they have, it is just on the table. If it will be realized, this same card registration will play a major role, because most Ghanaians are using this same sense now. But till 31st of July come and those things are blocked, then you should know that the government is going to make less revenue with even the expected amount of 4.8.
And then he says that, the finance minister, talking about issues of exemption, the fact that we may not see any significant changes. We know that you've been raising some concerns about merchant accounts as well. What has happened to the engagement between yourselves and the Communications Ministry, as well as that of the Ministry of Finance?
Yeah, we were made to understand that come 1st of July, you will have one major platform for which all of the agents and the other telcos will all operate from that platform, and that will make it very clear for Ghanaians and agents as well to know that those measures that we put out there with regards to the cap and floor, that is the 100 Ghana cedi, and agent to agent, agent to bank, all those things will be unified. But as I speak to you, there are still banks, some banks that are still debiting agent for pushing what we call the pull-in and pull-out. So we lodged that complaint to Ghana Revenue Authority, for which we were made to understand that those issues will be addressed. So still we are on the table with them, and we are hoping that by close of day, those issues will be addressed.
So what you mean to say is that even as we speak, many of the merchants are still having difficulties
Definitely, yes.
Were you exempt, I mean, from the initial agreement that you had with government, or you were to roll on, be charged for some time, and then government will resolve the concerns?
Yes, we were made to understand that because it has started, there will be challenges definitely because it's a system. And therefore, even before the implementation, we were made to understand that the system is 97% complete. So, with regards to the 3% left, those difficulties were expected. But upon going on roundtable discussion with the Ministry of Communication and the Finance Minister itself, we were made to understand that come 1st of July, those issues will be addressed. There will be a common platform for which all agents and all transactions will be monitored for proper debiting and whatever that we call for. But as we speak now, some banks, we've lodged an official complaint to the Ghana Revenue Authority. Some banks, if you do pull in and pull out, now there's when you push your money from your agent account to your bank account, those, they need not to be in a deduction. But we were also made to understand that every agent, by law, should link his Ghana card to his agent SIM. Okay, and those who were confronting such issues, we have educated them that they should do that. But as I speak to you, there are a lot of them who have not yet done that because agents are always busy. And today want to leave their fund and go to the bank and do it. There should be a way out that agents can access those platforms without walking necessarily to the bank because we are very busy people. And it is making it so difficult. But we are advising our agents across the country to do the needful because if you don't, it tells you that the government will eat up your capital. Anytime you do cash in and cash out or pull in and pull out to your bank, it means automatically your capital is going to be debited. And that is very, very bad. But
And there's also, just go ahead.
You are made to understand that when they are able to link their Ghana card to their agent SIM, then that will be restored. So it's still on the table.
And there's also this issue about the cross-platform payments, making payments from either one telco to another, or I mean, someone who's using another network. It appears it's not been a smooth process in terms of the levy. Are you having similar experiences as well? And what could possibly be accounting for this?
Definitely, yes. I earlier stated that it is a system that we are operating. And one way or the other, there might be such issues powering up because systems are not 100% correct. So we are always on the table with government. We are in talk because we are partners. And all these issues, we are testing, we are using the system. We notify them that this is what is happening, and then they will take it up. So as we keep identifying the challenges as and when it comes, I think the government, through the Ghana Revenue Authority and the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Communication, will have a way out to solve it. And you know, identification of the problem is a major issue in the step of solving. So we are using it and we are identifying the challenges day in and day out we are encountering. And I know that definitely those challenges will be resolved.
All right, then. Back to the issue of the SIM card registration. Were you indicating earlier that you want the extension to be pushed to next year, 2023? Did I get you right?
Exactly. Yes.
That's too long a time, you agree?
My brother, it is not too long a time. The fault is not from the people. Most people, if you go to a Wax Sports Stadium now, as I speak to you, there are thousands of people in queue. It tells you that they want to obey the government directly, but they are handicapped. They don't have the national ID. People are there who have already registered it for over a year now, and as we speak, they don't have it. And it is not fault of them. The fault is coming from the government. And I think that if you want to have a smooth system where all parties will do their part and have a very successful registration, then I think government has to play his part first by making sure the cards are available to people, so that you can allege that recalcitrancy is the order of day, and therefore this deadline will not be extended. But it is even good for the government itself. If you don't do this, it means its revenue is going to even cut short by 50%. Most people have not registered, and it is of no fault of them. So we think that as an association, we are in to make profit, and therefore when our customers are confronting challenges, it tells you that we are out of business. So we are pleading with the government of the day. It will be in its own interest, likewise us, to help extended to January 1st, 2023. We are not caring about those recalcitrant people. Even if you give them decades, they will not register. We know that. But the government should be fair enough and make sure he do his part. That is with regard to the NIA. When people have their card, automatically they will register. As I speak to you, if you could walk through the country, you know the accused everywhere. It tells you the people are willing to meet this deadline, but they are handicapped with regards to the Ghana.
Some say you're holding brief for the telcos themselves, who may be challenged in terms of their capacity to register everyone who may be seeking to do so. Should we be blaming partly the telcos for this, of not making at least the process smooth enough?
There's no need for blame here, my brother. Government was not listening earlier on. Somewhere in August, they will put out a communique that this same re-registration, it is the agent's body who is supposed to do it. We have the capacity. We are spread across the country. Anytime we speak, leadership don't take us serious. But every problem that we talk or we let it out there, they see that we are prophesied. We told the Ministry of Communication that this same registration, agents work, customers work to our end to buy these things.
Yeah, but you're partly being blamed for where we are now. Initially, when we introduced the law, I mean, requiring that persons duly register their SIM cards, you were selling pre-registered, and I'm not saying you in particular, but many of your members were selling pre-registered SIM cards. We've seen that, for instance. So you're to take some blame for what's happening now and where we found ourselves.
I earlier said blame will not help each other.
Yeah, but you agree. You're saying, so you're asking us to create the same problem. You were part of the problem initially.
Great. It is not as agent. And every system, when you are gathering data, you will not get 100% data collection. There will be foul in one way or the other. And therefore, you can't say that agents are selling pre-registered SIM, and therefore the fault is from the agent. Who brings these SIMs to our table for selling? It is them. So what I'm saying now is that agents should have been included to help in the re-registration of these SIMs, because the telcos don't have the capacity. Even if they have the capacity, do they have the open space to accommodate more Ghanaians? Go to the market areas, go to the lorry stations. It's now that the telcos are having a plan B to do this all-round registration. And it is not going to help us because the harm has already been caused. Government or through the telcos or the ministry should have trained agents with resources, with the technical know-how to help curb this issue of re-registration of SIM. They are used everywhere. And this, at this modern age, 21st century, need not to happen. At the comfort of your home, if you walk 20 meters away, agents are everywhere. And this issue can be solved. But better still, I think that the government, through the Ghana Revenue Authority, can also initiate steps for the extension so that the agent body will be added and then the telcos, so that we all have a very win-win situation for us.
Okay.
Because
now, finally, right. Right. Finally, we're expecting the communications minister to address the general public on Sunday. What's your expectation as we wait to see what it is that the decision will be going forward?
As an association, what we expect to hear from the Honorable Minister is that she should align herself with us based on the press release that is out there, looking at the numerous challenges that Ghanaians are confronting in order to do the needful so that the government of the day can have those targeted revenue for developmental projects. So we should listen to the public. But that not necessarily means that he should agree to us with the deadline of January 1st, 2023. But I don't know the measures that they put in place, but if they want to fast track it, there should be prudent measures. And even if a month is added by themselves, I think they need hope that we all have a real situation.
Charles, I'm grateful for your time. He's spokesperson for the More Money Agents Association. Well, the Finance Minister has been speaking on more matters, including the free senior high school policy. He says that free SHS is under review. This contradicts the Education Ministry's position on the matter. You may recall that the GES Director General, Professor Opoku Amankwa, in an interview with JoyNews, said that the service is undertaking a review of the free SHS policy to possibly determine how much parents can be asked to pay. Subsequently, the Education Ministry issued a statement clarifying the position on the matter, that the program is not under review. So is it? Well, the Finance Minister on PM Express last night backed the GES position.
Yeah, right. I mean, the issue, George, that we have to contend with is that that kid, by being a citizen, has his right for education. The moral right of the parents to look after them is all there, but that can be legislated. So me as a government need to ensure that that kid can go to school. Okay, we can now also, because we are getting more and more digitalized, I can find a means of knowing, assuming a means test, you know, is what you are alluding to. We can be more scientific about that. And maybe because it's more digitalized, I can also get my income from you much more so than before. So yes, and if we have maybe scholarship schemes, then that means that you have to prove that you need scholarship. You know, so we can get very sophisticated about that to ensure that you draw in parents in a way that is not coercive, but never compromise on that citizen who is less than 18 being able to get that education that is important. Because all of us really, given our backgrounds where we came from, if not for education, we won't be sitting here. And that really is a human capital that we need for this great Ghana that we all aspire to. So efficiencies will be looked at. I mean, in the end, if you look at the education budget, I mean, senior high school is not like, you know, the tipping of where we want to go. But certainly in any system you have, you look at efficiencies, you find ways of making it more effective. And that, I think, we have a great education minister who is constantly tweaking these things. So it will get better. And
so
better.
the review is on the table, right?
Review is constantly on the table, you know, and it's just to make sure that the appropriate education is given, that wastages are eliminated, and that, you know, it goes to give us value for money.
And thanks for staying with us here on the Pulse on the JoyNews channel. We'll return shortly after these messages.